Hi, how's it going? Don't forget to click the CC button if you want to see what I'm saying in English. Special shout out to Mrs. Cott. Mrs. Cott, thank you for watching the videos and for liking the videos. You click the like button. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Cott. I really appreciate it. Today's topic is getting married in Japan. And in my case, getting married in Japan in 1990, long time ago. Um, there are many, many international couples now in Japan. At the time I got married, it was increasing. The number of international couples in Japan was increasing. Um, when I got married, though, in my town, there weren't so many international couples, I guess, because um, I I seemed it seemed to be big news that a foreign person was marrying a man from my town. The newspaper wanted to interview me and put a story in the newspaper. And I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to be in the newspaper, and my husband didn't want to be in the newspaper. And we we said, no, thank you. No, thank you. But we had a lot of pressure to do this interview, and finally, um, there was an article in the local newspaper about our marriage. I thought that was so strange. I thought that was so strange. Why do they care? Who cares? Who cares? I'm just a girl from Texas. Who cares if I'm getting married to someone from this town? But anyway, it was in the newspaper. I was so clueless at that age. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't speak Japanese. I didn't know anything. Um, when it was time for the wedding party, we call it a reception in English. The wedding reception means the party after the wedding. And so my husband and I had a wedding reception in this town in Japan where we live. And it was an interesting cultural experience, the Japanese wedding reception. It's very different than an American wedding reception. Um, I'll compare the two. I also had a wedding reception in Texas. My parents and our neighbors were very kind, and they organized a party for my husband and I at my parents' house. The party was held outdoors under the trees, and a lot of people came, neighbors and old family friends, and my friends and relatives, all kinds of people came. And my parents didn't have enough tables or chairs in their house for so many people. And so the community center was very kind and let my parents borrow a lot of folding chairs. I think in Japanese you say paipuisu. We say folding chairs. And those were outside, and my father and maybe some of the neighbors helped or the relatives helped, made barbecue outside, and my mother and some of the other family members and the other neighbors helped her to cook um, things like potato salad, or I don't even remember. I don't remember what food it was, but they made a feast for everyone to eat. And there was also a beautiful wedding cake. I think it was my neighbor who made the wedding cake. And for the gifts, since my husband and I live in Japan, if everyone brought gifts, which is traditional at many, at least at that time, weddings, people would bring a gift. in a box, like towels or some kind of kitchen appliance or something for their home, for their new home. And of course, it would be difficult for us to carry back so many presents back to Japan. So my mother and then our lovely, wonderful neighbor had a good idea. They made a tree. They used a real branch from a tree and they decorated it. They painted the tree and they put little clothespins, uh, sentaku basami, but little wooden pretty clothespins all over the tree on the different branches. And when people came, they brought mostly a card, like a greeting card to say it said congratulations or something like that. And in the card, they put money. And those were the gifts. Instead of bringing actual gifts, they brought money. And then they would put the cards in the clothespin on the branches of the tree. So the tree had cards hanging from it, and it was like a gift tree. It was such a interesting idea, I thought, a very original idea that my mother and our neighbor had. So anyway, it was very nice, outdoors, barbecue, casual clothes. It was really fun. It was really fun. Then I had my wedding party in Japan. It was a little different. First of all, if you remember in the 1990, do you remember the wedding parties? I had to change my clothes. Like I had a wedding dress, a white wedding dress, and then I had to change my clothes into an evening dress, and somebody did my hair all fancy and my makeup, and it was so fancy and formal, I thought. And my husband and I sat in the front, like on a stage, kind of. We sat at a table and we had the food and we had to eat like up on a stage. Everybody can see us. And it was so strange. It was so strange to me. And there were many speeches, and I couldn't understand Japanese at that time, so I didn't understand any of the speeches. Lots and lots and lots of speeches, and people coming and giving us alcohol, giving us alcohol, giving us alcohol. Um, some people performed like songs. I had no idea what was happening. I just was just there, just like observing. Even though I was the bride, I was just observing. Wow. And the mayor, the mayor of our city came because it's an international marriage, I guess. I don't know. The mayor came and he gave a speech, which I couldn't understand. My boss gave a speech. And one thing I noticed is, of course, family members, my husband's family, his relatives, some of our friends came. But this was a big, big hall, big room full of people. Most of them I didn't know. And I realized many of them were connected with my husband's father's work. So people I didn't know, my husband knew a little. So, okay, okay, this is different. This is a different, very different way of celebrating. And there was one more thing I wanted to tell you about. I had it in the back of my mind. What was it? Hmm, I can't remember. Oh, and the cake, the cake. There was a big, huge cake, big, big cake, but it wasn't real. It was, I don't know what it was made out of, paper or plastic, or I don't know what it was made out of, but it had one small real cake in in a space, and my husband and I had a big knife and we cut the cake together, but we weren't really cutting the cake. It was already just only a small piece anyway. We were pretending we were cutting the cake, and that was really interesting too. Anyway, it was very, very different, very different. Um, yeah, but it's a good memory. It's a good memory and a vague memory. Vague means not clear. Not only was it a long, long time ago, but I didn't understand anything. I was just in the middle of a culture and customs and a language that I didn't understand. So I was really just, I didn't understand what was going on. And I remembered what I was going to say. This was in a big hall, I said. Recently, a family member of my husband passed away. An older member of the family passed away, and we attended the funeral. And it was in a big room. And I was looking around, and my husband said, "Do you recognize this room?" No, I don't recognize this room. He said, "This is the same room where our wedding party was held." So it's a hall that is used for weddings and funerals. And so this was the same room where my wedding party was held. It was now a funeral. That was also very different. Anyway, it's a good memory now. It's a good memory now. I would love to hear about your wedding stories. Your wedding, your honeymoon, where did you go? Um, your wedding party, were there any kind of interesting things that happened? Maybe some of you who are the same age as me had the same type of kind of Baburu Jidai, the bubble wedding with some people had the smoke or the bubble, really bubbles, or some people would go in a some kind of a, do you remember? I don't know, like a crane or something, and it would carry the couple, and you would light the candles on each table. Yes, memories, memories. I would love to hear your memories. Um, if you would like to tell me your stories, you can join the 3-minute English challenge. If you look at the link under this video, you can see uh, the details. You can find the details about the 3-minute English challenge. I would love to hear your stories. Everyone has such interesting stories, and I'm always, always interested to hear them. Okay, that is all for this one. I probably talked for a long time. God bless you. See you next time. Bye-bye.